incentives are built off what the standard incentives are for scientific scholarship, which of course is papers and grants and and promotion that is based on that. But I think and this is actually something we're trying to do in the School of Data Science, is to think about other elements that are important to the team effort that ought to be rewarded to the individual. So clearly the level of collaboration that when you're participating in team science, we need to reward that. So that becomes an incentive when it's rewarded. And you can obviously sharing your research output, which is your data, your methods. So it's more than it's really sharing the whole research life cycle and being rewarded for it, and that's the incentive. The challenge, of course, is that's not the norm.
I think there are a lot of positives about team science, but it is important to think about some of the challenges that go with it. And I'll start with the incentives because there are a lot of incentives. And if you've ever been in the room with a bunch of smart scientists and thinking and having new insights and synergies as you develop new ideas, that energy and that excitement that comes from working together with those different scientists is a big part of the incentive, I think, of team science. And the second incentive is directly related to that because it's the learning opportunity. So being in a room with a bunch of smart people and not only learning about their perspective, but learning about the content of what they're expert in can be a tremendous incentive. And I think the third incentive is innovation. We're all trying to figure out better ways to be innovative, and coming together with other people who think differently is a great way to develop innovation. And finally, and probably the most common and most important, is that we know that we have greater scientific impact if we bring people together with broad perspectives to do our science. But it's not without challenges. And some of the challenges, probably the biggest challenge, is that it takes more time. And the whole point of team science is you bring people together from different backgrounds and different perspectives, but that means you don't start on the same page. People have different background knowledge, and often people have different vocabulary. So that takes some time and some patience to bring everyone up to the same level so that you can start your work. The other thing that I've noticed is that different people from different teams sometimes will have different styles how they participate on a team. And again, putting in the time and energy to address those different styles and navigate that to come to a common ground is really important. And I would say overall, it takes a little more effort, a little more communication in team science to make sure that there aren't misunderstandings and to make sure that conflicting approaches are addressed.
Funders are setting ambitious goals for research, tackling scientific grand challenges and pressing societal needs. They're aware that team science approaches are fundamental to meeting these challenges, and they're incentivizing team science through large awards to support research of this kind.
So let me talk about the challenges first. So, human nature is human nature. So the biggest challenges related to team science are credit, right? There's a big paper, who's going to be the last author, who's going to be the first author? Well, if you're going to be co-listed, who goes first? So I think trying to understand who owns what and making sure people feel ownership for the project together, even though it's not like one PI and one lab, et cetera, is probably one of the biggest challenges. On the flip side, I would say that's also one of the advantages. I think what's really appealing about team science is you're never really alone, right? Like I think when I started my career as a clinical investigator, even when I was in training, I was perceived sort of a lab PI as the lead. And it's good, you should be a lead, right? But I think if you're completely alone in a traditional setup, you're the PI and you kind of talk to other PIs, et cetera. But in a true team science framework, you're never truly alone. You're always bouncing your ideas over people who are co-leading projects with you, or helping implement things, etc. So I think there's a real sense of fun, and there's a lot you learn from each other. So in the team science projects I'm part of, I'm constantly learning. There's always a differential. So there's some people who are junior to me, some people who are my years, my level, some people who are senior. And I love how that interplays. So in sort of the best teams, the most senior people don't necessarily think they know everything, and the most junior people don't necessarily think they know the least. And that's been a lot of the fun in team science for me.